Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp.com, and I've been with them for a long time. BetterHelp is an online platform where we found that you can effectively communicate with your therapist. Now, you begin by filling out a questionnaire, and then you'll be matched with a therapist within a couple of days. And if that match isn't ideal for you, you can certainly make an adjustment there. Now, you're going to be encouraged to journal, and also they have the availability for group therapy on a wide array of topics, and I really like that. So as the need exists, go ahead and take the necessary steps to get the help that you need. And just know that BetterHelp has a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, so it indeed is a platform you can trust. There's a link below the video that will take you there. Hey Team Healthy, Gus and I welcome you to another episode of Unbound. These are the episodes where I take questions and comments from you, and then we see if we can kind of make some sense out of some of the things that are going on in your life on a very personal level. And today I want to talk with you about the anxiety that just hangs in the air in the aftermath of having been with a narcissist. You know, sometimes you can have some anxiety in the moment where you feel some tension and stress because that other individual is being so difficult. But then there are times when you've had so much exposure to that narcissistic person that we have what's called free-floating anxiety. It just kind of lingers, and it may not necessarily be attached to one kind of situation, but just there's just such a long-standing atmosphere of condescension and being invalidating toward you that it just begins to take up residence. And we want to see if we can make a big dent in all of that. Keep in mind, your emotions are there as part of your pain management strategy inside of your body. The emotions are trying to get your attention and say, hey, something's not right here. Let's take a look at why I'm feeling the way I do so that we can make corrective adjustments. And that's what we want to do. Let's listen to what your emotions are trying to say. Now, I've got three different questions and comments that we have here. I'm going to break them down, and we can see if you'll notice that there's quite a bit of overlap here. The first person says, I've noticed after being with some extreme narcissists, my paranoia has increased greatly. The form it takes with me is catastrophizing. For example, if I make a single mistake, it's as if everything will crumble because of me. Is that normal, and how do I heal from the paranoia? Keep in mind that the paranoia begins with a lack of self-trust, and it begins with a presumption, you people out there are going to make my life miserable. In what form is that going to be the next time around? One of the things that narcissists hope to accomplish with you is they want to take away all of your sense of confidence, and they want to make you responsible for their many dysfunctions. Now, that's pretty chicken on the part of the narcissist, rather than saying, you know, if there's a difficulty between you and me, I mean, yeah, maybe you've got some contributions, but I do too. They don't think like that. Instead, it's like, you're not even allowed to talk about my problems. It's all on you. And so one of the reasons this person is struggling with paranoia is because I'm assuming there's been a lot of exposure to that kind of message. You're no good. You're terrible. All of our problems are about you. And you can see that of course, you hear that often enough, it's going to get inside your head. Now, I want you to notice also, along with this, them wanting you to be responsible for them, there's a significant black and white thinking. Notice what this person said. It's like, if I make a single mistake, then everything will crumble. That's black and white thinking, very binary. If A happens, then B's going to be the natural result. As opposed to saying, you know, sometimes I do make mistakes. Sometimes things crumble. But not all the time. Sometimes I don't make mistakes. And sometimes not only things not crumble, but we thrive. But narcissists have such binary all or nothing thinking that they want to just let it be known. No, if there's a problem, then there's got to be some huge problem with it, or some huge mistake that you made, and there's no nuance, and they can't examine complexity. And so again, they can't break that down, and you get sucked into that kind of thinking. And then let's also just acknowledge when she says, is it normal that I feel this way? Narcissists want you to think that you're not normal. And that's what has happened to this woman. So when she says she's paranoid, which is an exaggerated form of anxiety, then basically what we can see is the narcissist in her world have succeeded in letting her know, yeah, you are responsible for me and you're not normal. And there's all sorts of things on the inside of you that we just can't come to terms with. And there's no nuance, there's no appreciation for breaking it down on an individualized kind of basis. So part of your healing is going to be to see what's going on so that you can realize, wait a minute, I'm being exposed to a pattern of thinking and a manner of describing things that is completely erroneous. And it's necessary and reasonable for you to say, I'm with an unreasonable person, therefore my reasoning cannot be determined by their reasoning that they're trying to put on the inside of me. Now, we have another situation. This person says, I left my husband several months ago after a long marriage of gaslighting, manipulation, and bullying. Unfortunately, I still have some contact with him via email because we have some business matters to tie up. I find myself feeling stressed and anxious each day, but especially whenever I see his name on an email from him. I tried deep breathing techniques to calm myself, but my stomach knots and I start to shake. How can I get beyond this anxiety and deal with the things that I know that need to be done? Okay, what we have here, this is a continuation of that other person that said, yeah, I'm dealing with paranoia. This person says, I've got a long history of being gaslit, of manipulation, and bullying. And when you have something like this, there's really only one good way, at least for me, that we can characterize it, and that is narcissists are into mind control. And I know that's a very strong kind of term to use, but it's like, I want to get inside your head and I want to eliminate anything at all that seems normal or reasonable in your logic, and let's just get rid of all of it. And then I'm going to fill you with me. And of course, when narcissists do that, they have a very strong self-serving agenda, and having no empathy, it's like, I don't really care how you feel. I don't really care what this does to you. I don't care what separate interpretations you have. It's all going to be about me. And if you have enough exposure to that kind of thinking, then over time it whittles away. And the number one ingredient that gets lost is self-trust. By the way, 4 or 5 years ago, I guess now, I put out a video called Your Ultimate Superpower when you're dealing with a narcissist or something like that. Look it up on the search bar of my channel. But it's your ultimate superpower is you trusting yourself. Narcissists, in their gaslighting, it's all about keeping you confused, want to make sure that you think, I'm not a trustworthy person. And I'm wanting you to really rethink that. Am I such a non-trustworthy person? The anxiety that you're having, the stress that you feel, tells me that you're uncomfortable with that message. Now, you may not know what to do with it, but the fact that you feel so tense, it's like, whenever I hear something like that, it doesn't feel right. That's why you're responding. Listen to what your emotions are trying to tell you. The narcissist wants you to feel strange for not being subordinate. Here you are, you're breaking away from a marriage where that person has been bullying you. And so even as you offer input, it's like, well, I know I'm going to get pummeled for this one. Well, that's what he does. But at the same time, it's like, but I don't really need to be in the subordinate position. That's why the relation collapsed in the first place. Relationships are not about competition and one up and one down and superiority and inadequacy. It's about kindness. It's about helpfulness. It's about encouragement and mutuality, mutual regard, etc. And so as you experience the emotions like this, I'm hoping as you listen to the message of your emotion that you can ask, what are the better alternatives that my tense emotions are wanting me to consider? And so let's look at it from that way, and you get to learn how to have a cleaner definition of yourself, separate and distinct from where the narcissist is coming from. Now, that leads me to the third comment and question we have. This person says, can you talk about how narcissists like to keep you confused, which is what we're talking about here, and how they don't respond to what you're saying when you try to discuss problems? By the way, let's pause on that one. They don't respond. Well, actually, there's no such thing as no communication. You may try to discuss your problems with them, and then when they kind of do that. They do the stonewalling. Oh, there's a whole lot of communication going on. It's just nonverbal. And so there's no such thing as no communication. But this person goes on to say, how should I word boundaries better so that they can't act so confused? My situation is getting ridiculous. And it's that last part that I want us to focus on. Part of the anxiety, going back to the first person, that you can have is you feel like I'm responsible for solving this problem. I'm responsible for the strains and difficulties that have come upon the relationship. And when she says, how can I word my boundaries better? Okay, I like having good boundaries so that they can't act confused. You know what? It's not your job to make them confused or unconfused. That's on them. It's not your responsibility to act in such a way that you get a certain result from that person. Because narcissists are going to be what they are. Boundaries is not about telling somebody no. I mean, sometimes that happens, but it's boundaries is all about you saying, I have a very strong definition of who I am. And I know what I believe in. I know what my values and standards are. And I'm going to live into my definition of me. And then when the narcissist comes along and says, well, that's not allowable. Well, that's your opinion. I'm still going to live into my best definition of me. And you follow through with resolve in your self-preservation efforts. So now I'm going to condense this down into a couple of things, but it can take a long time to process this. But basically, when you're trying to get beyond some of the anxiety and the tension, two things: know who the narcissist is. They're bringing so much irrationality. They're bringing so much of their pathology. And then you want to ask yourself, is that the person that I'm going to filter my life through so that I can be okay? I don't think so. And so you want to give yourself permission to unhook and detach from that person. So that is the more you know about their pathology and how absurd it really is and how, frankly, inhumane it is, then I'm hoping you can give yourself permission there. And then second, know who you are. Like this person that wants to word boundaries better, or the person that's paranoid and all, am I normal? Well, give yourself a definition of what normal is relative to you and your life experiences. Write down, here's what I believe, here are my standards, here are my values, here are the characteristics that I want to have, and do some journaling, and then write down the circumstances in which you're least likely to follow through on that, and then start asking, well, why would that be? What are my alternatives? And so go into that process of self-confrontation of an encouraging and healthy kind of way. Now, we're going to wrap here today. And please know, if thank you for letting me be a part of your journey. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do so. Know also that I'm sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource. You know I'm a therapist, and I'm giving you some broad overviews. Sometimes it's helpful for you to have somebody that can work it out with you. If you have the need, go beneath our video and click on the link and get some of the help. Or if you have somebody there in your community, please get the help that would be warranted. And so make sure that you're unpacking this with individuals who are safe and who are with you. Also know on my website I have lots of courses on boundaries. This is me on anger management, healthy connections, how to find yourself. We have webinars, we have articles, my books. We have lots of resources. Make yourself an ongoing learner and invest in yourself in that kind of way. So know that narcissists create anxiety in you because they want you to be responsible for so much that you're not responsible for. And so when you remind yourself, I'm responsible for me, trusting me, I'm responsible for me, living according to my standards, my principles, and then I need to identify what that is. That's the beginning point of getting through. It's an ongoing process. But as each week, each month, each year, each decade goes by, I'm hoping you can find more and more consistency with that.